Our world champion-elect from Wollongong, and he of course had a thrilling season last season, didn't quite make it, finished second to Eddie Lawson, so in many ways a frustrating one, but perhaps the season which threw Wayne Gardner up as a potential champion of the world. Let's have a look at Wayne Gardner through 1986. Wayne Gardner, the Lone Rider.
I always want to find what's the exciting part of things, and I remember just gassing it up just to see what would happen. And I remember the feeling, it just took off, and I've never felt this feeling in my whole life ever again. It just, the sheer speed and power. I mean, it felt like it was going to pull my arms off my shoulders, and just take off with the bike and leave me behind. It was just so scary but exciting, and a real adrenaline pumper, and that really sold me to that day, and I'll never ever forget it.
Wayne Gardner, age 26, born in Wollongong, Australia, top rider, Honda Racing Team, 500cc motorbikes. Jourama, Spain, May 1986, the first Grand Prix of the season. Gardner rides the number 4 bike.
Gardner, Lewis, Yachihiro, Garriga, McElnay, Gardner. Oh, and gracious me, what a moment for Gardner. But somehow he hangs on. Somebody up there likes Wayne. And Gardner is catching Spencer. There's no doubt about it. Spencer is slowing down. Here's Gardner, and he's the new race leader. Spencer has retired. Twice last year, Gardner was poised to win a Grand Prix, and each time something went wrong. It's the checkered flag. Gardner is going to win. The first Australian to win a 500 Grand Prix since Jack Finley in 1975.
Fantastic ride.
New to the Honda team, Wayne scores his first ever Grand Prix victory in an 8-year career. Suffering from tendinitis, his team leader and 1985 world champion, Freddie Spencer, has to retire 1 month later. Still in his learning year, with the team, Gardner is thrown into the deep end. He has to deliver. But is he ready?
Wayne has so much pressure on him, being Freddie not here, and Freddie normally being the fast guy, and Wayne could just sit back. But now Wayne's got to do it, and that's a lot of weight on his shoulders.
He's got a heart like a lion. He never gives up, which is something you've got to have. He never, he really sort of applies himself to the job like he did today.
Wayne's the toughest guy right now. Wayne's pushing real hard, and I rate him the highest of all of them.
I wish a lot of the times he was a 9-to-5 worker, and that we just were like a normal couple. We are a normal couple, but his job isn't.
Assen, Holland, June 1986, 6th Grand Prix of the season. 23 points behind the leader Lawson, Wayne needs a win desperately. The Honda NSR 500 is worth £250,000 and has a top speed of 190 miles an hour. It represents the very latest in motorbike technology. To maintain the highest performance, the bike is continually checked and adjusted. Last-minute data and newly developed parts are flown in from Japan and delivered by the fastest courier. A high level of professionalism is called for to maximize speed and safety.
There's a little bit more chatter today on the front.
Yeah, that's originally...
I remember I said I had a little bit here yesterday, you know, those two back right-handers over there. Well, I had a little bit more, I couldn't seem to get it in because it did. So I think possibly go back...
2.1. Rear suspension on that bike, we put in that harder spring.
It's not bad. I'd like to try it with maybe an E tyre.
Yeah, right, okay.
And those 40 yokes.
Yeah, 40s. Sure-san. Yes. This machine, we're going to change triple clamp to 40mm, same as other machine, and raise rear side 1mm. So if you and Stuart can take out front fork and change triple clamp. Okay?
Okay.
The right package of tyres, springs and carburation is crucial to a good grid position and a win. A split-second improvement on the lap time requires expertise and days of precision work.
Get ready to take that tyre out. We may put that new D in it. Okay. You want to run that other bike? And we'll try that D tyre straight away in it. Take that wheel out. Because now lifting the rear wheel.
He becomes very serious as the week goes on. What he thought was funny at the beginning of the week's not so funny anymore as the race gets closer. I always want to comfort him, but it's just a thing you can't do. You just can't go near him or show him the love or the affection I want to give him. Because I sort of can feel for him like he's a small infant, because that's what he goes like. That's what he feels. You can see he's sort of feeling lonely and a bit nervous and uptight, but you know, the best thing to do is stay away. Where I want to get close to him, but you just can't. Talk about having a family eventually. Just now would be very difficult, very hard. That's just one more added worry. I don't think marriage would be a great problem, but a lot of people seem to think it would be because he'd lose a lot of fans and, you know, people would take a different attitude to a married man to a single man, but that's not what I think. But definitely it's difficult with a family.
The eve of the race. Wayne and Donna try to relax with Wayne's parents. An ex-truck driver, Norm manages Wayne Gardner Enterprises, trading in motorbike accessories, assisted by his wife, Shirley. But in Assen, their thoughts are never far from the track. It was here in 1984 that Wayne, in his first Grand Prix, almost decided to end his career after a devastating encounter with reigning champion Franco Uncini.
I suppose it was frightening because you can see it happening. I mean, it happens all in a few seconds, but watching it, and when at the time I was going to hit him, it seemed like an eternity. You know, I just kept saying to myself, I come in the corner, don't move, don't move, don't move. I can actually just see it and brake, and I was bracing myself and bang, you know, I went over the front of the bike and he spun around, and it was a horrific crash, and it was one I tried to forget about.
Though Uncini fully recovered, the memory of the accident still lingers.
I never want to see him beaten. I'm sure everyone's the same, but when he's in a dice with another rider, sometimes I just wish, back off, you know, you might just push it a little bit too far. Then when he's in the lead, you want him to go faster and, you know, really get out and win there and make that win worthwhile.
The 30 seconds before the race is so eerie because it's all in slow motion and it seems like 30 years you're waiting for rather than 30 seconds. It's hard to explain, but everything's all quiet around you. You're mentally thinking what's going to happen. You're thinking about the bike starting. I'm thinking about pushing the bike in a good push, not slipping over. I'm thinking about the riders behind me. It's a combination of a lot of things going through my mind, and it's all in silence. And it's a weird feeling, and you can actually just about hear you sort of blink.
Gardner, McElnay. Haslam still in front, then Duradives, Roche, Mamola.
De onder van de start, de slechtste stand voor Eddie Larsen. Inderdaad, het is Gardner Haslam op de L3 die aan de leiding gaat.
Haslam still there. Chased by Roche, Duradives, Gardner, Mamola and McElnay. And Gardner goes through to take second place from Roche. Haslam being caught by Gardner, Roche third. And Gardner uses the power of the four-cylinder to go through into the lead. And here's Lawson going too fast. He's on the grass and he's off. But Lawson, for the second year in a row, was out of the Dutch TT. Gardner, can he win this Grand Prix? Wayne Gardner, the boy from Wollongong, on top form.
Daar komen ze weer, dat langgerekte lid. Het is Wayne Gardner. Wayne Gardner op de Rodman Honda. Goed gereden op de 20 seconden. Het is de tweede doorkomst en we hebben een nieuwe kopman op de melden. Wayne Gardner op de Rodman Honda aan de leiding. De tweede plaats, Gardner Haslam. Op de L3, de derde plaats is
Gardner. 4 seconds ahead of McElnay, Mamola and Roche.
Gekeken door startnummer 11 en dat is Mike Bolton. En uit de wedstrijd starten.
Gardner, McElnay, Mamola in hot pursuit. And Gustav Reiner has crashed. His bike is on fire. He urges the marshals to bring the extinguishers. That's a £35,000 machine that's blazing. Gardner now in the sights of Mamola, McElnay third. The gap between Gardner and Mamola less than 2 seconds. Gardner riding as hard as he can. Oh, but Mamola seems closer now. Can the American catch him? The start of the final lap. Gardner not easing off at all. Through the chicane for the final time. And victory for Wayne Gardner by just under 4 seconds.
You stuck it in beautiful.
Beginning?
I'm happy.
Yeah. You just ask yourself these questions, but I'm glad I made the right decision and come racing again, because to come back and win here is sort of not completely covered what happened, but it's a nice feeling.
The Assen win puts Wayne back into the championship fight, just 8 points behind the leader. Celebrations in racing are short-lived. Another track is waiting. The expectations of the team are high as they make their way. But during the next 2 races, Wayne's fortunes will take another turn. In the wet, overconfidence and lack of judgment are punished immediately, and Wayne knows it. Inexperienced in the rain, he rides carefully and takes no risk. He slips 23 points behind the series leader. All his previous efforts are wasted. The pressure is on for another win, and Silverstone, Britain, looks like the best opportunity. Wayne's confidence is high. In early practice, he set the fastest lap time. The weather looks like holding. Things look bright as the other riders fail to beat his time. But an English summer is as unpredictable as racing.
No, unless tomorrow you rain, then you got just rain.
Or if you haven't got anything tomorrow, you might try to have the race.
It frightens me sometimes, especially when you do have a couple of near misses, but occasionally you have to really pull out the old stopper and use a bit of risk. You know, I hate using it. It's like having a jar of risk. And, okay, I'll have a bit of risk this time, and you go and risk it. And that's why I don't like to use that all the time, that little jar of risk. I like to keep it in the corner, and if I have to use it and try a bit harder, then, okay, you'll use a bit. And then most times you can get away with just using a little bit, but you use a lot all the time, and that's when accidents happen.
Wayne's win in the rain proves to himself and the world that he could be the next world champion. The season over, Wayne and Donna find peace away from the circuits, the crowds, and the pressure. 1986 was a tough but rewarding year.
It's been a perfect year. It's more than what I expected. I've learned a lot, I've built my confidence, and I think I'm now ready to have a go at 1987, and hopefully that will bring a win in the World Championship.
1987 will see Wayne Gardner as leader of the new Honda racing team.
Success. The heir apparent to the world motorcycle crown is a part of that now. Monte Carlo, one of the world's most exotic cities and a tax haven for the rich, is home for Wayne Gardner. Wayne's just bought an apartment here where he is living with his fiancée Donna for much of the year as the Grand Prix circuit dominates his life. But Wayne's real home is still Wollongong, in fact a modest townhouse in Kirraville. Gardner's not the kind of guy to forget his roots or accept his success easily, because there's been tough times along the way.
There has been a few dramas over the years, as with accidents, and as you know, that accident I had with Franco Ancini. So there has been some very depressing times. But, you know, I suppose from the hard times, you know what the good times mean more to you then.
From Fairy Meadow Primary School to Monte Carlo Harbour is a long way. But for Wayne's parents, Norm and Shirley Gardner, the emergence of their son as a champion motorcycle racer was kind of inevitable.
People said to us he's going to be world champion one day. We said, oh, we didn't really believe that, but, you know, we knew it. I thought in our own mind probably we did believe it in a way, but because we knew he had the potential. He was always wanted to win racer.
Yeah,
he had to be first.
Yeah.
Confirmed by Nick Hartgerink, the motorcycle racing columnist at the Illawarra Mercury, Wayne's publicity manager, and the author of the Wayne Gardner biography, due for release in November, hopefully to coincide with Gardner's first world championship.
He didn't always have the best bikes. In fact, sometimes he had quite inferior machinery, but he was always right up there with the leaders because he just couldn't bear having people in front of him. And some of his friends who raced with him, even back in minibike days, say that he just couldn't bear to have people in front of him. He'd do anything, you know, and ride way over the capabilities of the bike to get up into the lead and hopefully to win. So, yeah, he's always had a real determination.
Gardner first went to England in 1981 and made such a rapid impression on the domestic scene that by 84, Honda Britain had no choice but to dabble in Grand Prix racing. In 85, Wayne, riding a three-cylinder Honda, finished fourth in the championship, and last year, after being taken on by the Honda Works team, finished second. 86 is worth dwelling on for a moment. Honda's #1 man, world champion Freddie Spencer, withdrew for the entire season with injury, which left Gardner a rider with tremendous potential, but just a rookie as far as the Japanese-based Rothmans Honda factory team was concerned, as the only man that would carry the aspirations, the technology, and the huge financial backing of the biggest motorcycle company in the world onto tracks around the planet. It became obvious quickly that the Honda was simply not as powerful as its main rival, Yamaha, and Wayne did everything that was humanly possible to stay in the fight. Whenever riding skills was the major factor, such as in the wet in the British Grand Prix, Wayne proved his worth and gained respect from the notoriously hard-to-please Japanese. In fact, much of the credit for Honda's new competitiveness this year must be attributed to Gardner.
Last year I gave him a lot of information throughout the season, I mean, where I could see where the Yamaha was better and giving good feedback. In fact, we sat down for hours and hours and hours sorting it out. And it's nice that they're actually believing in me, and now that the whole package is working well. In fact, the bike's turned out to be a real winner this year.
It sure is. Months of off-season practicing and testing showed signs of paying dividends when, on the wrong compound tyres, Gardner finished second behind American Yamaha rider Randy Mamola in the inaugural Japanese Grand Prix. Merely promise turned to sheer power at the Spanish Grand Prix, and defending champ Lawson must have been in a near panic when the Rothmans Honda left the Yamaha gasping. No wonder Wayne was jubilant. The 24-second spread between he and second place threatened to set the scene for the season.
This season's been much easier than past seasons, and I'm probably riding more easier and feels slower to me than I have done in past years, and it seems to be working well. I'm winning races and so on, so I just hope we really can continue the same sort of way throughout the year. And the team's working very well. I understand all the mechanics and they understand the way I think, and of course machinery this year's played a big part. We've vastly improved it. It's dramatically changed the motorcycle underneath, not from the outside so much, and of course experience, which I've gained throughout the past years.
However, if the Honda Works team needed a kick to prevent complacency, it came at Hockenheim in the German Grand Prix. Wayne was 8 seconds clear of Lawson and pulling further away when an electronics problem halved the Honda's power, and he helplessly fell back into the field as Lawson took the race and Mamola took the lead in the championship. As Gardner limped home in 10th place, he vowed to whip the mechanics into shape for the Italian Grand Prix. And the Honda Works team responded accordingly. After a fairly cautious start, it only took Gardner a couple of laps to hit the front and then pull away, beating Lawson by more than 15 seconds, further demoralising the defending world champion. Round 5 now, and reason why Gardner is becoming such a popular figure. His fearless riding has captured the imagination of fans, live and on TV. Feature of the Austrian Grand Prix was an amazing duel with Mamola, won eventually by Gardner. But it's at moments like these, spare a thought for Wayne's parents, watching it live at home.
Norm leaves the room.
I get up and have a walk around.
Comes
have a look,
there.
We just got to sit there and watch and hope, give their fingers crossed. I think
it's a terrible,
it's awful feeling.
It's a dreadful feeling.
It's a long 40 or 50 minutes.
Yeah. Because you know it's your son. You know it's a terrible feeling, and you kind of think in any moment it can happen. He can come off, you know, and you'd actually be sitting there watching it. You know.
We like to see the races where he wins by a mile.
Wayne wasn't afforded that luxury last weekend at the Yugoslav Grand Prix either. Gardner went out to an early lead, but due to a painful wrist injury, legacy of a fall in practice, he had to slow up and was caught and passed by Lawson. But after another amazing dice and a couple of very near things when Wayne almost lost it altogether, Gardner took the checkered flag and his place on the top of the rostrum, though he may not have appreciated a Yugoslav official's firm handshake.
And he was telling me after the race that he was lying on the track and his wrist was stinging, and he thought, oh no, I've broken it, you know, I've ruined my chances at the championship. So he's very aware that there are risks involved in motorsport, and that it wouldn't take much for him to break a bone or something which might put him out for 3 or 4 races, and then it would be really hard for him to win the championship. So he's working very hard at keeping his feet firmly on the ground and saying, I've got 10 races to go, I haven't won the championship, it's great to be leading and to be winning most of the time, but I just have to take one race at a time, and he certainly hasn't had any t-shirts printed with Wayne Gardner World Champion on them, I can assure you of that.
So, to quote a very tired but true phrase, nobody's counting any chickens before they hatch. However, there is a tremendous feeling of anticipation and excitement that Wollongong's greatest ambassador can create history and become the first Australian to win the World Championship. The point score after 6 rounds is Gardner on 73 points, Mamola 56 and Lawson on 49. With a first place worth 15 points, Wayne is more than a win in front of his nearest rival, so there's no doubt he's in a commanding position. And quite honestly, it couldn't happen to a nicer bloke.
It'll be like a bit of a dream come true, really. I mean, not from an Australian point of view, just that I was a child and I used to read books about all world champions and so on, and I fought hard to get where I've got, and it means a lot to me. And of course, to win, to be Australia's first world champion, would be absolutely fantastic. It'd be like, you know, the icing on the cake, really.